Okay, we're gonna walk through the bridge exercise. So starting on your back, knees bent, feet flat. Go ahead and take a couple inhales and exhales just to let your body relax into the floor. You don't want to feel like you're holding tension in your neck or your shoulders or your pelvis. When you're ready, you're going to inhale, exhale, draw your abdominals in, squeeze your glutes, press your heels into the floor so you get that backside activated, and then we're going to lift up. So it'll look like this. You're going to inhale, fill your belly. You're going to exhale, let the air out, let the belly deflate, zip up the core, press your heels into the floor. You could even pick your toes up a little. You should feel your backside tensing a little bit, like you're kind of wrapping them around towards your sits bones. And then you're going to peel your hips off the floor, slow and steady. Try not to let your knees move out to the side. They should stay right underneath you. When you get to the top, you're going to go ahead and inhale. Try to keep your core engaged. On your exhale, draw your core in even more. And this time you're going to try to think about letting the upper body soften down to the floor, segment by segment, nice and slow. And you'll hit little kind of bumps and squiggles just because your muscles are learning until you reach all the way back down into the floor. So one more time. Inhale, fill your belly. Exhale, draw in. Tuck your tail under, press your heels, squeeze your tush like it's wrapping around. Lift your bottom up off the floor. Keep your knees in line with your hips. Inhale at the top. Exhale, and you're softening up at the sternum, and you're walking your spine all the way back down to the floor. Rest. You shouldn't feel like your hamstrings are cramping. If you do, the backs of your legs, make sure your feet aren't too far away from you. That might cause it, sometimes even too close. And then the other thing is that digging of the heels into the floor is what helps you to, if you're pressing them down, it helps you to use more of your glutes rather than pulling your feet towards you. That actually gets your hamstrings to work. So we want more of the glutes. The hamstrings will do what they need to do. We just don't want them to be cramping and doing too much. All right, so we're going to go through the clamshell exercise now. The easiest way to get yourself lined up, because side lying is a little bit of a tough position, you can use your mat, your Pilates mat or yoga mat, and try to line yourself up with the back edge of the mat. So in my case, my feet would be touching kind of the edge of the mat. My backside would be lined up with the edge of the mat. And then the upper body, the head and shoulders would be lined up with the edge of the mat. It's common when people are on their side, they'll kind of start like this and they're like flexed forward. So make sure you're lined up. A trick for you, I can't show you this right now, but a trick for you would be to go up against a wall so your feet, hips, and head and neck are touching. Or you could go to the front of a couch because that's a nice straight line too. Some of you might need to put your feet behind you a little bit. So the couch is the best for that because you want to be able to like kind of curl around the couch. You want to pay attention where you're feeling this. So that's what we're going to go through now. So I'm going to go back to this position. You have all that set up in a straight line. You want to make sure you're not rolling forward and you're not rolling back. My hips are stacked right on top of each other and my shoulders are too, as best you can. Everything starts the same. You're going to inhale, fill your belly. Okay, there's an expanding. You're going to exhale, draw those abdominals in to zip up the core. This hand can touch the floor and press a little bit. That typically helps you if you are someone that flares your ribs out. After you get this connected and if your ribs are still flared out, if you lightly press, it'll help you kind of align all that. You want to feel like from your chest, your sternum right here, moving all the way down to your pelvis, that's in a nice straight line. You don't want to feel like you're splayed out like this. Okay, so you're going to inhale, fill your belly. You're going to exhale, zip up your core, make sure your ribs are knitted in. You're pressing lightly through the floor to help you stabilize. Go ahead and reach this top hip that way. You see how I'm reaching it to create a little bit of space on the bottom? And then from there, you open the knee towards the ceiling and you come back down. And what you're trying to feel is your core is engaged the whole time. You're nice and aligned through here. And you're opening this leg and you feel like you're using muscles here on the back side as you do that. Okay? So do a few, check in. You're going for smooth motion up, smooth motion down, because we're trying to build the muscular control that's happening. I don't tell people to focus on how big the motion is. Just go as far as you could go without letting your pelvis roll back. So a lot of times people are doing these and they're like, yay, clamshell, and everything's just moving around. And maybe muscles are working a little bit, but that's not really the intent. So you want to make sure you're keeping all this stable and you're using your core to do so. So one more time, you're going to inhale, fill your belly. You're going to exhale, draw those abdominals in. Make sure your ribs are not flared out. Use that arm onto the floor to help stabilize. Reach that top hip long so you create a little bit of space underneath here to account for hips. So you want them to be level. And then open towards the ceiling and slowly back down. And you're just going to keep repeating this, working those muscles nice and slow, controlled and smooth. And I typically at first, you're just trying to isolate these muscles. So go to, okay, I'm getting a little tired, maybe do one more and take a break. Once you got this down, then we can actually prescribe sets and reps for this.